Tokyo. Good evening. Please welcome from Hollywood, California, the Queens of Noise, the Runaways.
Hey, what's going on everyone? It's LJ, and this video is a response of sorts to fellow YouTuber Heavy Metal Corner, who asked that we show our favorite hard and heavy live albums. Not a problem. Condensing it to a small list, big problem. So I pulled a modest handful. I promise it's not that much. The stack couldn't be any more than, forget it. So we have what I would consider to be my 15 favorite hard and heavy live albums, a few honorable mentions, and a few that just didn't make the cut, and we'll talk about why. But let's get started with what's playing in the background. Right away, one of my absolute all-time favorites, the Runaways live in Japan. You just can't get much better than an all-girl hard rock band made up of, 16 to 18-year-old girls, 17 to 18-year-old girls, one of which being Lita Ford. This album just rips on all levels. It's really, really challenging to find, but man, is it worth it to be your cherry bomb! Next, an absolute all-time favorite. These are in no particular order, by the way. I just love them all. But one of my all-time favorites, of course, has to be Kiss's Alive. Alive 2, Alive 3, Alive the Millennium Concert. They're all fantastic, but none have the absolute raw energy that Alive does. Forget the classic set list to boot. This one pretty much dominated my junior high school years, and this is Iron Maiden's first live album behind Made in Japan, if you will, Live After Death. Recorded on the Power Slave World Slavery Tour. This is an original pressing, which I've had forever and ever and ever and ever. It's in beautiful condition, and I listen to this album very, very regularly, whether it's the vinyl or the CD. That's the booklet that came with it. Here's the merchandise insert. 100% complete, and here's the inner sleeves, and this had just killer custom labels at the time as well. It's a fantastic set. It goes all the way back from the first album all the way up through Power Slave. Dickinson nails it. Iron Maiden set the bar for heavy metal live albums in the 80s, hands down, and they've made a lot since then, but they've never quite recaptured that. Not for me. Next, and this one might raise a few eyebrows, here's AC/DC's Live. I have and love If You Want Blood, You've Got It, but just for the variance of the set list and Brian Johnson being spot on during what was a huge resurgence for AC/DC on the back of the Razor's Edge album, it has custom labels as well. This is just nothing but manic energy from start to finish. Some cool custom inserts on this one. I was really happy when this popped up in the shop and I was able to pick up a brand new copy. Killer set list, full of energy, amazing album. This one has been a long time favorite of mine. I first encountered this when I was probably 8 years old. Way too young. Maybe a little earlier than that. Anyways, I've told the story before that my mom had a friend who lived just down the street, not too far from here, and they had a teenage son. So of course my mom would go over to hang out with her friends there, and I would just wander over to his room. His name was Rob, and Rob was cool. Rob had AC/DC's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Ozzy's Speak of the Devil, and a stack of nudie books this high. Rob's room was the coolest thing in the world. Anyways, Speak of the Devil, just a killer band. It's all Black Sabbath songs, and you have Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge on drums. Amazing album. And Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge also popped up here in Whitesnake. This is Live at Donington from 1990. This has David Coverdale on vocals. It also has Steve Vai on guitar. And this is just a killer set. This came out on vinyl, I don't know, a year or two ago. It's a 3 LP set. Again, it's the 1990 Donington show, and it just smokes from start to finish. Smokes. Has custom labels. I think every one is a different color. This one is the purple label, and I believe the other ones are maybe blue and red. I can't remember off the top of my head. Amazing album. Amazing album. I've watched a couple of the other responses, and people have shown the Scorpions' Tokyo tapes, which is a fantastic album. I don't disagree at all. But when it comes to hard and heavy, and the Scorps album that I go to the most is Worldwide Live. And it's got nothing more to do than when I was in junior high and when I was in high school. And that is when the Scorps were riding the top of their 80s best. and Worldwide Live is a killer set list. It's a killer recording, and it's an absolutely outstanding album. It's also very, very easy to find on vinyl, so if you're starting to build your rock and metal collection, you should not have to look too hard to find that one. Here's one that came out, I want to say, a year or two ago, and this is Saxon. This is Heavy Metal Thunder, Eagles Over Rockin'. And this was recorded in 2009. What makes it so cool is it's a fan's choice set list. So the fans got to pick what Saxon played. This is another 3 LP set. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. It's a long listen. To put it on and say, I'm going to listen to this album is it's definitely an effort, but it's awesome because I love this stuff. It shows you what do the fans think are the best songs. You know, Saxon has their new wave of British heavy metal period, and then they kind of got more power metal as they went on, and definitely more so now. But this just goes to show you, based on the set list, that the fans just eat up Saxon, and I'm no exception. Amazing album. My favorite Motorhead album, hands down, is No Sleep at All. I can put this on and listen to this over and over and over and over and over. Lemmy's humor is just spot on. It's on point all the way through the show. The band is on, and it's got an absolutely killer set list. Just Because You've Got the Power is my absolute favorite track here. Killer album. Now, while it may not be my favorite Rush live album, as far as hard and heavy goes, All the World's a Stage definitely takes the cake. Easily. This is a 2 LP set and a trifold gatefold, or trifold out gatefold, whatever. And this is just Rush, raw, and live at their early absolute best. This was recorded in Toronto, and Otavio, who's Guess I'm Just a Spud Boy here on YouTube, actually went down and did some camera work at the venue where this was recorded. Fantastic video. Find Otavio's channel. Find that video and find that album. Amazing. Again, with the 80s metal, here is Dokken, Beast from the East. Another absolutely fantastic album. Where's the glare? Just killer. I mean, it grabs everything from Breaking the Chains, excuse me, on through to Tooth and Nail, and all the way up through Back for the Attack. Absolutely killer album. The band is just on fire, and it's an amazing recording. It's so easy to sit down on a Saturday night and spin that one. This one cannot be omitted from any list. This is Priest, Unleashed in the East. So this would have been on the Hellbent for Leather tour, and just before the absolute brilliance that would follow it with British Steel. Absolutely fantastic. That album just kicks you in the teeth. Oh, it's amazing. This was a new release of an old show. This is Testament live at Eindhoven. This is 1987 at the Dynamo Open Air Festival. And this was Testament's first European show. So they would have just released their album, The Legacy, at this point. And this has not been available in its full form, the full show, for years. For years and years. I don't know if it was ever available. There's been the EP that's been out, which isn't the full show. And this was a limited pressing that was done this year or last year. Oh, 2012. Sorry, a couple years ago. Absolutely killer. Testament is just raw, on fire. This one dominated my CD player and turntable in high school, and it is Slayer's Decade of Aggression. Talk about a band that's at their absolute peak of their commercial powers. They have just refined every element of who and what they are, and that would have been Slayer. So this is right around the time Seasons in the Abyss came out, and this has tracks from all the way back from the beginning, from Show No Mercy all the way up through Seasons in the Abyss. And it was after that that Slayer kind of went down a little bit, but this just captures them at their absolute best. When that was reissued on vinyl about a year ago, it was just, I could not order it fast enough. So happy with it. Speaking of Ozzy live in '82, I cannot leave out Sabbath's Live Evil. Sabbath, I guess. You have Ronnie James Dio on vocals at this point, and Vinny Appice, whatever, behind the drum kit. An absolutely stomping live set. Dio just kills it. This album is amazing. And of course, the cover, you have representations of all Sabbath songs. There's your Neon Night, Heaven and Hell, there's your War Pig. This is just an amazing album. That's another one that Rob had in his room way back in the day. Here's some honorable mentions. So those being my absolute favorite live albums, if I really have to choose. Some honorable mentions. Here's Rush's Exit Stage Left. Always has been and always will be my favorite Rush live album. But it's a little more commercial. It picks things up from Moving Pictures and so forth. And if we're going hard and heavy, I have to stick by my choice of All the World's a Stage as my favorite hard and heavy but this is definitely my favorite Rush overall live album, and it's amazing. Another honorable mention here is Marillion with the Thieving Magpie. I got really into Marillion in the last year and a half. This album was really tricky to find. They were supporting the Clutching at Straws album on this tour, and it's fantastic. They do the entire first side of Misplaced Childhood on this. It's just a killer listen. I mean, if you love Genesis, you will absolutely love Marillion, and you've got to check them out. That one's a little tricky to find, but I walked right into a sealed copy and couldn't have been happier. Another honorable mention here is The Who, live at the Isle of Wight, 1970, excuse me. This is a 3 LP set. This one is a UK import, and this has been issued a couple of times. It's been issued on, I believe, red, white, and blue vinyl, and this one is just on straight up black vinyl. It's an amazing set. It's pretty much Tommy live in concert, but there's some other material on there as well that just, they kill it. That was The Who in their prime. Here's one that I can't call my favorite live album yet, but I want to give it an honorable mention, and it's Gatto's Live, Best Seat in the House. I'm relatively new to Gatto in the past couple of years, and Cock On, man, am I loving it. Just not enough to put it at the top of the list yet. This came from Ottavio in the vinyl community. It's on the Canadian Attic label, which I absolutely love. I just cannot get enough of Attic label stuff. And when Ottavio sent it to me, I believe he swore up and down that that was his rear end. I don't know, I have to read the liner notes, could be. Last honorable mention, here's Whitesnake's Live in the Heart of the City. Pretty much Deep Purple, if you will. You have Ian Pace, John Lord, David Coverdale. It's a stomping live album. It's just too darn short at 1 LP. I really think they could have done something double like they had done with way back with Live in Japan. But it's a killer album, and it definitely deserves a nod. And the last three are ones that just didn't make it. Sorry. First is Def Leppard's Mirrorball. I really wish Def Leppard would have released something when they were still live, when they were still a great band, back around On Through the Night and High and Dry. But they waited until here with Mirrorball, and while it's a 100% competent performance, the energy is just gone. It's lost. It's not here. There's some great songs, but with Vivian Campbell playing the classic material and some of the new songs like Let's Get Rocked in here and a lot of kind of the sillier stuff from Hysteria. Hysteria is okay, but it's got some really silly moments, especially compared to those first three albums, man. It's not there. Again, I just really wish they would have released a proper live album back then when Pete Willis was still in the band. Same thing, but with Metallica. Here is S&M, and forget the fact that they're backed by an orchestra. It's just the set list. There's just too much stuff here from Load and Reload, which combined together would have been one good album, but taken as a whole, there's just so much filler there, it's ridiculous. Another band that really could have, should have, would have, I wish they had have released a proper live album, like right around the Injustice for All tour, right around 1988. That would have been a killer live album, and it would be a classic today, as much as many of these are. And the last one that I just could not throw on the list is another person who's got more than one live album out. Here's Dio's Intermission. And the only reason I couldn't throw this in the list is it's just too short. You know, it's too long to be an EP, but it's too short to be a full album. It's got one studio track on it. And to be honest with you, the performances on it are just kind of uninspired. It just never takes off. It's a decent listen, but it's kind of one of those that's for fans only. But that's my stack. I hope you dug it. Definitely looking forward to anyone else that wants to jump in, get a piece of this, and show some of your favorite hard and heavy live albums. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have one. Talk to you guys soon. Later.